Hello and welcome to Team PokeMart, your one-stop shop for things that you need to stop and or shop for. And I do profoundly apologize if your money spending was disturbed at all today, dear customers, because we've just had a shipment of Abra come in, but we don't really have any means of stopping them from teleporting all around the shop, which yes, is ever so slightly annoying and very short-sighted of us. And as it is, I'm fairly certain that the only way to stop this from happening is for people like yourselves to purchase one of them and take them off our hands altogether. I'll even tell you a bit about them. Oh crap, one of them is already evolved into a Cadabra. Oh, this is not good. And now it's trying to use one of our subscribe buttons as a spoon. It doesn't belong in cereal, Cadabra. Loyal customer, the only way to stop this crime against breakfast is to click the subscribe button to keep it firmly in place and prevent this mischievous Cadabra from foolishly using it as a spoon. But back to the point, the Abra line is a fantastic evolutionary chain of Pokemon, and don't let the frustration in my voice fool you. I assure you, I am excited to tell you all about it. This line made its debut in Pokemon Red and Blue and very quickly became sought after Pokemon due to the fact that psychic types in Gen 1 were just crazy overpowered, thanks to there not being a dark type present and thanks to the short-sightedness of its developers. Its only potential counter were bug Pokemon, of which we're not using bug Pokemon, and ghost Pokemon were weak against psychic at the time. But starting things off properly with Abra, the Psy Pokemon. Abra's color scheme consists of mostly yellow and accents of browns. Its head is somewhat reminiscent of a cat or perhaps even a weasel, with a small muzzle and pointed ears. Although its inner ears and nose break the yellow and brown dual tone color scheme and instead have a light skin tone for the purpose of visual depth. And you know, it really is nice of nature to engineer things like that. On its torso, it wears what appears to be some sort of crop top, complete with shoulder pads, which its slender arms do poke through, capping off at the end with broad clawed hands that almost look like gloves. In fact, forget the whole crop top idea. In retrospect, this thing actually looks more like Saiyan armor. Its legs appear disjointed or segmented from its lower body and are finished off with large feet, with 3 long toes, 2 at the front and 1 at the back. You know, as is normal for all of us. And its tail is fairly thick and straight with a brown band just over halfway to the tip. Now, Abra can be a tricky and frustrating Pokemon to catch due to their frequent use of the move Teleport, as once they feel they're in danger, they will simply teleport out of harm's way, and obviously you, dear customer, represent danger. Not to me, of course. I really like you and I think that we should be best friends. I'm so lonely. But probably the best way to catch an Abra would just be to test your luck and throw the Pokeball without even attempting a battle. Alternatively, if you have a Pokemon who has a move that can make it fall asleep, or any such move or ability that will stop it as escaping, such as Mean Look, because as we all know, there is nothing more effective at stopping an Abra in its tracks than a slightly furrowed brow. What's crazier though is that when using hypnosis on itself, Abra will fall asleep, obviously. But wait, that's not the crazy part, because while asleep, it will still be able to sense danger and subconsciously teleport itself out of harm's way. In fact, Pokedex entries state that Abra will sleep for 18 hours a day, and even then it will change its location every hour using teleport, which seems to be just a little bit paranoid to me, but whatever. But then at level 16, Abra will evolve into the secondary member of this evolutionary line, Cadabra. And it would be pretty easy to mistake this evolution as the final end chain because simply put, it looks incredibly cool. Far too cool for a middle evolution. I mean, just look at Graveler. This is a middle evolution that looks like a glorified stool sample with limbs, and he's one of the better examples. Back to the wonderful world of Cadabra though, having finally opened them, it has angular anime-shaped eyes with a red star on its face between them. He is also now sporting a fine moustache, tipped with white at the ends like the wise silver fox Cadabra one day dreams of becoming. Cadabra still has an all-important crop top, however it appears to be a bit bulkier than before, and he also now has some sleeves beneath his shoulder pads. On his lower body, he has 3 wavy lines, the same red as his forehead star, and its hands and feet now feature much more prominent white claws. Also, its tail is hugely thicker now, so much so that it bends in several places like a super fat worm. Very importantly, believe it or not, Cadabra is never seen without its spoon, which it can bend using only its psychic powers. And of course, this spoon can also amplify Cadabra's psychic powers, and if it loses its spoon, it is only able to muster up half of its full potential. So I would certainly recommend keeping spare cutlery on hand at all times for your Cadabra, and luckily we just so happen to sell them here as a package deal. For every 1 Abra you purchase, you will receive a 10-pack of psychic spoons. However, being in close proximity to a Cadabra isn't always the greatest of ideas, as they have been known to create waves from their body that can cause headaches. They're also profoundly frustrating little menaces, and have been said to make clocks run backwards simply for the lols, which is perhaps why my 4-hour shifts sometimes feel like 8-hour shifts, and why my 8-hour shifts feel like 16-hour shifts, and potentially even the reason why I have this subtle feeling that I haven't actually been home in the last 3 days. In any case, there's a very interesting tale of how a young boy with extrasensory powers woke up one morning to find that he was no longer human, but instead he was a Cadabra. There isn't much more information to this other than the fire red and leaf green Pokedex entries, but it's definitely something to think about, which I certainly am. So how does this happen? And why did this transformation skip Abra altogether? Truly, we have yet to uncover the extent of this Pokemon's mysterious abilities and terrifying child transforming tendencies. But we do need to move on now, and the only known way to evolve a Cadabra is to trade it, which will result in an Alakazam. So you can see why I was confused by the design for Cadabra being in the middle, because it's like when they realized they needed another evolution, they thought, how can we make Cadabra even betterer? And the solution was, let's give him another spoon. Terribly written and performed jokes aside though, there really aren't that many key differences apart from the fact that Alakazam is now missing its tail, which is crazy because that tail was like 70% of Cadabra's total body. Where did it come from? Where did it go? What happened to your tail, Cadabra? Yo? I mean, perhaps it was just far too big and in the way, but in the place of this once thick tail, its legs look stockier, making its toes, which were once long, appear to be very, very short. Furthermore, it's now donning brown knee pads and arm guards, meaning that this Pokemon is ready for some rough and tumble, which means some seriously spoony business. The other most obvious development is that Cadabra's red paint is now nowhere to be seen, which is a little odd, but I suppose its parents were right after all, and the whole red paint thing was just a phase. As for its facial structure, Alakazam's ears appear to have grown longer and thinner, easily looking more like a protruding spike than an ear altogether. Its cheekbones also appear to have a more spikeable shape. In fact, if we look at its head altogether, is it just me or is it now star-shaped? Kind of looks like an upside down Jirachi, actually. Looking at its Pokedex entries, it becomes very clear that Alakazam is one of the most intelligent Pokemon and could even possibly be the smartest one out of all of them. One of its notable features is that it simply does not forget anything ever, and its brain can perform better than a supercomputer, which is absolutely nuts when you think about how fast you can Google things. And supposedly Alakazam's IQ scores 5,000, which is pretty dumb high. And with a brain so big that only continues to enlarge with all of the knowledge it attains, you may be surprised that Alakazam technically cannot hold its own head up without the assistance of its psychokinetic power. So it's basically Megamind. Looking at its two spoons, it would seem that Alakazam actually created them itself using its psychic powers. These spoons are unique to the Alakazam who made it, and if it trusts a trainer, it may let you use a spoon, which is relevant because apparently it makes everything you eat with it become beyond delicious. So essentially what you need to do is befriend an Alakazam, use its spoon, and then super healthy meals actually become edible. As of the Sun and Moon games, Alakazam was found to have the ability to progress into its own mega form, and he looks glorious. Right off the bat, his mustache has grown into a fantastic white beard that would make even the PokeMart guru jealous, and an extra wide spike on the top of his head, which now adorns a jewel. Its once brown quote-unquote clothing is now a warm tone of purple, which is very fitting for a psychic Pokemon. His arm guards are now wider at the base, giving the appearance of long sleeves, which makes it clear that the evolution from Abra to Mega Alakazam is mostly about putting on longer and longer shirts. Also in this form, Alakazam levitates its entire body and clasps his feet together in a sit-down pose, also floating his grand total of 5 special spoons above him. Unfortunately, when using its mega form, Alakazam loses all of its physical strength and instead has buff psychic energy. So trainers who use it in battle should ensure that they think very carefully about the moves they wish to teach it. Having traded its muscle strength, it gains the ability to use the newly unleashed psychic power to foresee all things, from a person's life story, or more strategically, to predict what move an opponent plans on using. So basically, Mega Alakazam is a strong independent Pokemon and doesn't need no trainer. In fact, your puny brain capabilities will only hold it back. As for prominent members of this line, as a Gen 1 Pokemon, it's fair to assume that they remain a fairly iconic staple for Pokemon of psychic type experts around the world. Going all the way back to the Kanto region, Sabrina is well known to use all 3 of this evolutionary line in her red, blue, and yellow parties. In fact, her yellow party is made up exclusively of Abra, Cadabra, and Alakazam. Johto's Elite Four member Will also has an Alakazam present in his Pokemon Stadium 2 party for the first round in which you fight him. And also Lucian, Sinnoh's psychic type Elite Four member, has an Alakazam on his Diamond and Pearl team, which are also part of his Platinum forces, which is a pretty great endorsement for this Pokemon, having 2 Elite Four members who use it. You know what's better than 2 though? 3, because it's mathematically proven to be more than 2. And so for our third Elite Four member, this time we have Caitlin of Unova, who uses Alakazam in her Black and White 2 Challenge Mode rematch team, and since it is the only Pokemon swapped from her easy normal mode rematch team, sorry, Sigilif, I mean not really, it's a Sigilif after all, but this means the addition of Alakazam is the challenge, proving it to be a true psychic force to be reckoned with. Some more fun facts about the Abra line. In Generation 1, the only way to get a Mr. Mime is to catch an Abra and trade it with an NPC on Route 2 once you have finished the game, which really does beg the question, is Mr. Mime actually a native? Because he certainly is not catchable in Kanto. Abra holds the honor of having the highest flee rate in Pokemon Go at a whopping 99%, which means you should definitely try using a Great or Ultra Ball to catch it, and if you fail to catch it on your first attempt, then you will likely see it flee, like the cowardly psychic fox thing it is. In Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, which is a long name to say, Abra will allegedly always drop a max ether when defeated. According to the illustrious Bulbapedia, Cadabra has not been printed on a TCG card since 2003, which is probably due to legal claims that Cadabra is a parody of illusionist Uri Geller, who is well known for his spoon bendery. In fact, Cadabra's Japanese name is Jungera, which is a pretty blatantly obvious Japanese corruption of the name Uri Geller. And Mr. Geller was not happy about this, as he claimed that his name and his likeness were turned into an evil, occult, and violent character. So crazily enough, despite it being a Gen 1 Super Fox, there are a mere total of 7 cards featuring Cadabra. And furthermore, Cadabra has also been heavily excluded from the anime. And finally, a truly useless fact, just like Gengar, Alakazam becomes ever so slightly shorter as it Mega Evolves. I bet you really needed to know that. And there you have it. That was basically everything you would ever need to know about Abra, Cadabra, and Alakazam. Please come and give me money in exchange for them. And also please do make sure to stop by Team PokeMart just to say hi, which you can do in the comments below. And if you're interested in some of our other merchandise, then please do click these tantalizing links over here. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for regular updates on our new stock. But for now, this has been Team PokeMart, and I'll see you next time.